From the Ticats Audio Network, this is Ticats Today with Louie B.
Jeremiah Masoli stays in the pocket, rips the pass. It's Stephen Dunbar Jr. Touchdown, Tiger Cats. Drive continues, 2nd and 15 now from the Edmonton 26. Masoli going deep again, looking for the end zone again. Oh, Tim White catches it. It was tipped. He caught it. It's a touchdown for the Tiger Cats. How did he stay with that? 3 receivers to the wide side of the field. Jeremiah Masoli watches Jalen Acklin in the waggle, throwing deep for Acklin. It's complete. He's inside the 10, the 5. Touchdown, Tiger Cats. So on the Edmonton 16, a handoff to Don Jackson, breaks through the 5. Touchdown, Don Jackson.
RJ Broadhead with the call as heard on the Ticats Audio Network. Louie B here with you today on a Victory Monday of Ticats Today as the Ticats big winners in Edmonton on Friday night over the Elks. Lots to get into with that game. We're going to hear from Orlondo Steinauer as he addressed the media after the game. We'll hear from Jeremiah Masoli as well as he had himself a fantastic game again. And despite that, there are still people on Twitter who are questioning whether Jeremiah Masoli should be the starter of this team. Yes, the wins were against the Elks and the Red Blacks, but Jeremiah Masoli protected the football. And, not much more you can say about his performance on the night. 357 yards, 3 touchdowns, 17 of 24, completing 71% of his passes. We did name Don Jackson our performer of the game after his 120-yard performance, adding a touchdown as well. 7.5 yards every time he touched the football. Very impressive. Tim White had a great game, almost 90 yards with a touchdown. Stephen Dunbar, Jalen Acklin adding touchdowns as well. So a big win for the Ticats as they move to 2nd in the East Division. 3 games left on the season. I took to Twitter, try and get your thoughts on the Ticats, where they're at in the final 3 games of the season. We'll get to that in just a little bit. We'll get to Glen Suitor from the CFL on TSN. He was in the booth for the CFL on TSN for Friday night's call, so we'll get his thoughts on where the Ticats are. But right now, let's hear from Coach O as he spoke after the game on Friday night.
An understatement would be that I'm proud of this football team. We overcame a lot of adversity tonight. We came out here a little bit shorthanded, and every game's hard to win. It's hard to win, period. And I thought, just with all the shuffling and injuries and whatnot, just extremely proud. I thought that we did a good job in all 3 phases, and even rebounded in the second half where we probably needed to clean a few things up. Jeremiah didn't turn the ball over.
No. Stretch the field. Sorry.
I'm just saying, that's the first thing. That's going to give us the best chance to win, right?
Yeah.
Every game, there's always going to be throws that, we may want back for that. But at the end of the day, despite taking a couple of sacks there, I thought that the decision and where we're at in the game, I thought that those were the right decisions for him. So I'm proud of our football team, and Jeremiah was a huge part of that tonight, obviously. Well, I think there's that fine line between, I kind of spoke to him you don't want to lose the aggressiveness, but you also don't want to lose sight of why we're here. And that's to win. So you don't want to back down from anybody, but at the end of the day, we do need to play smart football. I'm not sure how much it bonds or whatnot, but I know that everybody's got each other's back in there. And we came out here with a goal, and we're going to be able to check that box, and that's what's most important. Yeah, and I know injuries are part of the game, but we're running out of bodies. So I guess as long as we had 24, we're going to be all right. But hey, listen, that's part of it. Every football team's going through it. You just like to go through it with wins.
That is the head coach of the Hamilton Ticats, Orlondo Steinauer, as he spoke after the win on Friday night. I will let you know that the Ticats are not practicing today, so don't have any injury updates As Coach mentioned there, they were down quite a few bodies by the end of the night, but we should have an update on certain players at tomorrow's practice, so we'll try to get those to you as quickly as possible. I can let you know that the Ticats have added 4 national players, including defensive back Gene Ventros, Malcolm Thompson, and linebackers Jersey Henry and Ben Whitting. So for all their details, go to ticats.ca, but the Ticats staying busy as they've added 4 national players, 2 DBs, and 2 linebackers. Just letting you know, I don't know if there's anything to read into that, but 4 players added by the Ticats. They've been placed on the suspended list. They're completing their quarantine. They will be eligible to practice with the team on Wednesday. So a couple of signings announced by the Ticats on that one. All right, Jeremiah Masoli, again, people are going to have their opinions on Jeremiah Masoli. I get that. Some of you do. Some of you have already tweeted me today. But he had a performance, another great performance. As mentioned, 357 yards, 3 touchdowns through the air. Added 26 yards on 3 carries on the ground as well. And he had a lot of good things to say about his teammates here, but here's what he had to say after the win on Friday night.
I think we've been talking about increasingly getting better every week. And, obviously the number one goal is finding a way to win. And tonight it was awesome to see the line and the backs go off, rushing the ball like that. I think it really helped open up our play actions. Being able to run the ball like that. And, it wasn't like they were just huge holes and Early did a great job running through arm tackles, which is what we talked about before the game coming into it, and staying at a second and long. I think that was a key for us. And at the end of the day, man, our receivers are just, so super talented, man. They were just getting open, running away from guys. Yeah, man, it does feel great. It definitely does. That's kind of like the standard that's been around here for a while. And, obviously we've been building to get to here this whole season. And, I'm not trying to say we're there and all that stuff. We still got plenty of stuff to work on. But to have that feeling does a lot for us in terms of our mentality and the confidence going out there. It doesn't matter where we start on the field. We'll be able to flip the field or, whatever the situation may be. We're building that confidence for this home stretch. Amen. I couldn't agree more. And I'm sure the defenses are finding out the hard way about that as well. My man's very talented. And on top of that, man, he has a killer instinct, but he's a team first guy too. So, he's kind of got that perfect combination that's set us up to win, playing unselfish football, but at the same time trying to do everything he can to, get production on offense. No doubt, man. We've been, the whole team, we got some guy, we call it the waiting list, the practice squad or guys that are waiting to come on. So, these guys have been ready and been working this whole year. We got a couple more back home too that are ready for their opportunity and pitching for it. So it was just great to see that, man. He's put in so much hard work and studying the playbook this whole year. And for him to come in and just be so electric, that's him. So it was definitely a boost for us.
That is Jeremiah Masoli as he addressed the media following the Ticats win over Edmonton on Friday. All right, time to get to some of your thoughts on the Ticats. I took to Twitter for a Monday morning coffee break check-in just to see how you're feeling about the team. Get some of your responses here. Wally Walker at Wally_Walker on Twitter says, I'm all in on this Ticats team, and I believe they're now in the position to take care of business themselves and not get distracted by anyone else. One team at a time. First up, BC Lions. Adds an appendix here. Don Jackson is starting the rest of the way, correct? You mentioned it there, Wally. The Ticats do control their own destiny. With the loss to Montreal, or with the Montreal loss, over the weekend, they dropped to third. Ticats in second in the East. They have 3 games left, and one of them is against the Toronto Argonauts. And as we've discussed on this show, if the Ticats can win that game, they would own the tiebreaker over the Toronto Argonauts by virtue of point differential So, yeah, absolutely. Ticats control their own destiny. And yes, one game at a time, the BC Lions on Friday night. At Tiger Sammy, who is a winner of some tickets to go see the Ticats and Lions on Friday, they tweet in, say, so good. The Ticats hold their destiny in their own hand, win all three. They finish first in the East. Can't wait to get back to Tim Hortons Field on Friday and be a road warrior next weekend in Toronto. So that's Tiger Sammy. At Brad Tender 34, Brad Boucher says, feeling good. We'll be hosting a game or two, winky face, in the playoffs. Win out, including a game versus the Argos for the tiebreak. Owls have the Bombers twice. Only negative is the Argos' other two opponents, but playoffs are ours. So the confidence is back. I'm loving it from Ticats fans. What do we have here? Adam Young says, feeling better. Masoli appears healthy, still iffy on the O-line, but offense is looking better. Hoping Speedy gets well soon. And at Roll DB1, is that Jamal Roll? I don't think so, but at Roll DB1 says, confident. The Leos are too inconsistent. The Argos are the Argos. And then a shot at Cody Fajardo, calling him a low-key a fraud. Well, I'm not sure if that's true. He is a professional football player. I'm not sure if fraud is the right word, but I mean, he maybe not as elite as we once thought he was. But there you go. Always love getting your feedback. You can hit me up anytime on Twitter at LouisB_TV. Try to get to some of your other responses who I didn't get to on the show, because now very pleased to be joined by the CFL on TSN's Glen Suitor. He was in the booth, and Suits was talking about this before we came on here, that you're very confident in this Ticats group. You liked what you saw on Friday.
Yeah, I did. I haven't seen them in person for a while now, probably over a month. And watching on TV, you can get a certain perspective, but when you're live in the building and you can see all 24 players every play, it really can change your perspective quickly. And I really liked what I saw. I mean, the discipline issue for both teams aside, and you've got to really watch yourself with those. I totally get the protecting your teammates back, and you'd go to war for your teammate. That's just the unwritten code that is there and will always be there. So I completely understand that. But if those type of things can be avoided, that's what real discipline looks like. That's what real toughness looks like, is actually to walk away from those skirmishes is being, showing great mental discipline and mental toughness. It really is. Anyone can swing a fist, but walking away and turning your back to that stuff because you don't want to hurt your team and take a penalty is most important, especially this time of year. So that, that aside, again, and that was, both teams, and it got out of hand and it wasn't pretty, but that aside, boy, I did like what I saw. Let's start with Jeremiah Masoli. I mean, three games now, over 300 yards, protecting the ball well without being too conservative. That's always a balancing act for quarterbacks, to protect the ball, not throw interceptions, not force it, but not get too conservative with the football either, because then you're not going to win games. You got to push the ball down the field, and he's been doing that. He looks confident. He looks comfortable in the pocket. He's getting time to throw. And that's where I was, that's where the sort of impressed with this team. That's where it starts.
Well, and it helps when you get a strong running game going early. And the Ticats did that with Don Jackson making his first start as a member of the Ticats after signing way back kind of pre-pandemic in 2020. I mean, he looked impressive, 120 yards on the ground. And I think, the offensive line gets a lot of criticism when things don't go well. But, I mean, you look at, they lost Darius Sirocco in the first series. Then they lost John Yarborough. They have Travis Vorncall playing in his second career game. Coulter Woodmansey, a rookie, kind of at that right guard spot. So, I mean, it really is one of those it's made even more impressive, the running display, the Jeremiah Masoli performance, when you take all those things into consideration on the offensive line.
Yeah, the balance that brings. And, there was a few times where I saw Don Jackson pick up blitzes very nicely too. I mean, a guy who obviously has no problem getting his nose dirty when it comes to protecting the quarterback. I think the other thing that really helps the O-line, and it helps the entire offense and the run game as well, is the fact that in the last 2 games, Jeremiah Masoli has shown that he has that speed back. Yeah. And that he's willing to run. So now if you think about those RPOs, those run pass option plays where the quarterback will ride the running back with the ball in his stomach, and then sometimes he'll either pull it and run around the edge, or he'll give it to the running back and let him run between the tackles. And when you pull it, you can also throw it when you get outside. And when you're a real threat to run on the edge, that widens the defensive ends. I mean, I'm speaking pretty fundamentally here, but it widens the defensive ends, and that helps with run lanes between the tackles. So, it was great individual efforts, yes, but it all comes together nicely when your quarterback can press the edge, your running back's running hard in the middle, making the first guy miss, and then your receivers are getting separation. When I see those deep 20-yard outs that Jeremiah Masoli was completing, boy, you need time to do that first, and your receiving core has been respected, because when you run a 20-yard out, the DB has turned his hips. He's got to turn his hips and feel like you're running deep, and then you break it out like that. They were open by 5-6 yards.
Yeah, there are a couple of catches that, I'm sure, or throws that Jeremiah wanted back, but he was pretty accurate, as he has been the last 3 games, as you mentioned there. Dustin Nielsen, when we talked to him last week, he had said that he thought the Ticats had a championship caliber defense. I'm not sure if the score really indicated just how well the defense played, with a couple of, quarterback sneaks in there for Edmonton. But what did you see from this Ticats defense, and what are your expectations for them?
Well, all of a sudden, I've always liked the front four. I mean, I've always thought that from the beginning of the year, even with some injuries and some rotations, I like the front four. Lorenzo Malden is a great sort of rotation player and played for Hauser, as you know. So, I thought, he played well in that sort of last second decision. But that's a great D line, and it has been all season long. I mean, with Simoni, again, we've got when we're playing right on that ragged edge, that's fine, but you got to be, we had just put Simoni on the list of the best linebackers to ever play in Hamilton Tiger Cat history, and I believe he's on the list. It's guys like Ben Zambiasi, Calvin Tiggle, Michael O'Shea, John Moulton, those guys. Simoni Lawrence deserves to be on that list. And right as we said it, he had the issue with James Wilder, and I went, "Oh, okay." Anyway, we'll move on. But you know what? Here's what I like about, and you're talking about the defense. In the last 3 weeks, the secondary has really come together, and that's like the O-line. The back end of your defense has got to play with great communication. And they have to understand each other's roles and know where each other are all the time. If you have a communication issue in your secondary, you're going to drop coverages, and one guy's going to be too far in one zone, not far enough in the other, and there'll be big gaps and big seams, and that's where offenses can take advantage. But this group has really tightened up. I mean, Des Lawrence playing with Cariel Brooks is, he's clearly getting better every single game, and I think Tunde Adeleke is. He's really the leader back there. I think he's pulling the guys together. That's probably been just watching him on TV and then seeing him live. That's where I was most impressed of the development and the growth in the last 3 or 4 weeks is in the back end on defense.
Well, and you mentioned Des Lawrence, and someone who obviously didn't have the CFL experience coming into this. And, I think when they lost Frankie Williams, and he's still on the 1-game injured list, so hopefully we'll see him again this season. But, I mean, I think a lot of people looked at that spot on the field and thought, here's where, they can, maybe exploit this Ticats secondary, and they haven't. And I think, I was talking to Coach Butler about this, the DB's coach, Coach Washington. I mean, and you mentioned it, they're a well-coached group, and having a guy like Mike Daly around the team as well. I mean, you mentioned the experience, and it's easy for Des Lawrence to just slide in there when you have a Keontae Evans who's played 70 games, a Tunde Adeleke who's played 70 games. I mean, that experience means something, especially when it comes to quarterbacks in the CFL.
Yeah, when I was a rookie in the CFL playing safety for Saskatchewan, I had Terry Irvin, who was a 10-year vet at one corner, and Kenny Hinton, former BC Lion, who was a, 8 or 9-year veteran on the other corner. And, every day in practice, every day watching video, we'd sit together. And the experience that I would get from those guys were like tremendous mental reps, like game level mental reps, just watching video, listening to experienced players like that. So when you have, Kerry L. Brooks has been around long enough now. That's 5 years is enough to completely understand the nuances of the Canadian game, and he's passing that on to Des Lawrence in real time because they're playing beside each other. And then again, the safety's got to, he's got to pull it all together, and first of all, be where he needs to be so the halfbacks and corners are confident that he's going to be there to help them in the middle, in those post routes and the routes that are tough to cover over the middle. He's going to be there to help him and be there where he's supposed to be exactly. But it goes beyond that to when you break the huddle and make the checks, and you're telling guys, hey, we've changed the coverage. Do you understand? And they all get it. And I think they've improved. I mean, like when I watched this team against, and I know it was Edmonton, and Edmonton is really struggling. But when I watched this team against Edmonton, I thought this team, it's going to be a race. It's going to be a dogfight in the playoffs. But this team is a championship caliber team. It has championship quality throughout the lineup. And it seems like, and it feels like they're coming together. I thought Jeremiah Masoli said it best in our Zoom call before the game last week. He said, we have got used to and got comfortable with the changes. And it's funny, like anybody in their own life that faces changes, they all take a while to get used to that. And during that time, you're missing things. You're not getting the results you want to get at work or wherever it might be because you're dealing with the changes. Maybe you've moved from one house to another house or something. You're dealing with these changes. But once you understand that the changes are just going to happen and forget about worrying about it and let's just roll with it, then you can get back to focusing on the small details you need to focus on. And I think that's where Hamilton is. And I think that's what Jeremiah was trying to say is we had all these changes all the time and we were fighting it. Now we have all these changes and we've come to just understand they're going to happen and work with it and roll with it. And I think they're doing that. We're scratching the surface on Tim White, Brandon Banks. And, what's the status on Braylon Addison? If he's available for playoff time and Banks is healthy, yikes. It's a good group, man.
Yeah, you mentioned Tim White, one of the breakout players of the CFL this season for sure. Suits, I know you and I could probably talk for hours, but I appreciate you finding a couple of minutes for me here this afternoon.
Hey, man, it's a good team. And I think you remember where the Grey Cup is this year, right?
I seem to be looking. I seem to be looking at that building right now. Actually,
yes.
I am sitting exactly where you will be sitting with the call of that game. I actually work out of the TSN. Little secret: I work out of the TSN TV booth here at Tim Hortons Fields on practice day. So I am literally sitting in your spot right now, keeping it warm for you.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. That's great. Well, this team is as good as any to get there, so it'll be fun to watch down the stretch.
My thanks to Glen Suitor for joining me, and my thanks to you for tuning in as well. Really do appreciate it. We are back tomorrow as the Ticats return to the practice field ahead of Friday's game against the BC Lions. And with the Friday game, we got a jam-packed schedule for you here on Ticats this week, including a brand new episode of the CFL This Week with Bubba O'Neill that dropped today. So go check it out wherever you checked out this. Make sure to subscribe to the Ticats audio network so you never miss an episode. Thanks for joining us today. As mentioned, back same time, same place tomorrow for the Ticats audio network. I'm Louis B. Hoping you have a great day.
Ticats Today with Louis B. Subscribe, like, and get your Ticats fix every weekday.